While we try to be as helpful as possible, this podcast should not be considered as professional or financial advice. It contains general information only, and you should seek out professional advice for your own personal circumstances before making any financial decisions.
Welcome back, guys. I'm Julia.
And I'm Nick.
And this is the Enthusiast Lab. Alrighty, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Enthusiast Lab.
Yes. We chose such a long name.
Yeah, we did.
Mystery Lab. Mystery Lab. You never know what we're going to bring up. One day it's building, the next, poof. Let's talk about life.
Life. Speaking of life, I took the dogs for a walk.
Oh, yeah.
And I completely broke our boy dog Shadow. Wasn't expecting to go for such a long walk. He had a really bad ear infection, so he had to get surgery done. So he hadn't gone for a walk for about 3 weeks. And then, wha-bam, 7 Ks. The poor boy died.
Yeah. And he was limping.
He was limping.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Shadow.
Irresponsible owner, Julia.
Fuck.
Irresponsible. He's all right now. Gave him some Panadol, and it's been about 2-3 days since. And he's barely got a limp now. So I think he literally just overstretched and probably just
overworked it.
Yeah. He's a big boy and he's 8 years old.
Yeah, he's getting a little old.
Yeah. So smaller walks now, Julia.
Yeah, smaller.
Please.
So today's episode is about how to understand your quote. So we're basing this information off the current builders that we work with, which is Levita
and Progen.
And honestly, guys, it does vary heavily from builder to builder.
Yeah. How it's structured can be different, but the information is there. So if you know where to look and if maybe some of the terminology that we use hopefully helps you to pinpoint those words so then you know what you're looking for, that's what this is all about. If you need that direct help about what's going on, then just literally message us, send us it through, and we can try and break it down for you. But otherwise, this is just a general overview of what certain terminology means in a quote, how to find the, specific items that, may be very important for you to understand thoroughly so that you know what you're in for before you sign. Yeah.
And with Levita, your quote that the consultant would get you to sign is like kind of a lump sum of paperwork. It's normally about a 16-page document, including front cover and back cover.
Yeah.
But
so 14. Potentially.
In that quote, it has your quote, your PPA, your specs, and your fixed cost site works.
Yep.
And then normally in an A3 document, you have the sketch, which is like your drawings, and the elevation selection that you choose.
Correct.
So it's quite a lot of documents, but the part that we're specifically talking about is the quote part where it breaks down the price of the home.
Important bit, what's actually been agreed upon, what's been written, because that's what's going to be drawn and built.
Correct. So that's the part that we're talking about, and it does vary different, from builder to builder. And Nick will probably correct me a couple of times because we're trying to generalize this so it can be utilized for not just Levita clients, for across the board.
It can be used for anyone. It's just about we're going to explain how certain things may be structured. A lot of the builders are the same. Just sometimes you gotta really go through a fine-tooth comb because this is where many builders can fuck you over with saying that, one thing is one price, but then there's a sub-clause that they can hit you for additional price increases. And those are the things we want to look out for.
Yeah. So normally at the top of every quote, it will have your name, the site address, so the lot and the street that you're building on, your job reference number in in the database.
That will be your reference. So that job number is the reference that the builder will associate you as that client in their system for the entire job from start to end.
Yep.
Because it's we're a very small business and we get 7 fucking Andrews, 7 Johns, 7 Karens, whatever it is. So, do you know what I mean? It gets really hard when you're dealing with hundreds of people.
Yeah, imagine that on a large scale.
Exactly. So, doing a job number, it's individual based on that job, on that quote for that client and whatever details have been associated with that. So therefore they can, accommodate any sort of work related to that specific job.
So if you ever contact your consultant, your builder, whoever, it makes it very easy, or makes it a lot easier for the builder to find you if you quote that job number. It's
Correct.
like 27135. I don't know. Whatever.
Whoever that number is, sorry.
I don't know. I'll pull that out.
Yeah.
The date created, which like the date that the quote was created.
Yes.
Normally the consultant name, so the person
who's actually dealing with it, or the builder, whatever it is, it depends.
Yep. The house type, so the name of the house that you're building.
Yep. Yeah. So if you chose a standard plan, if it's called the Maverick or whatever it is, or if it's a custom design that they've done a one-off, it will say custom.
Custom. Yep. And the spec type.
And the specification. So that is like we've pulled into previous podcast episodes, which is like, is it an empty shell of a home or does it have a few inclusions? They normally bulk it up into specific specifications, like in different leveled tiers.
Mm-hmm.
And from that specification, that's where they normally have the base price.
Yep.
And that base price is based upon, normally how the base price works, it will be the cost of that home with the specification that has been outlined.
Yep.
That's where it stands. Then going into it after that, that's when normally on the same page or the next page, this is where things can change with many builders. Sometimes they can then straight away go about elevation. Mm-hmm. If you've chosen something that needs upgrades, if it's just a standard elevation that's already included in those base prices at no charge, they normally have a nomination for which one they might have generically chosen for you or one that you've already specifically chosen. And then they normally go through if there's been any amendments or changes to the original plan that they have based that price on.
Yeah. So, from that initial information,
yep,
it'll either have the elevation or a spec breakdown. So,
correct.
In the quote, whatever spec level specification tier you've chosen, it will give a rough breakdown.
Depends on the transparency on the builder.
It depends, yeah. But normally there might be a couple of dot points to say
has aircon, has flooring, has stone, has raised ceilings, whatever it is, whatever the highlights of that specification is. If it's in the real entry, you might just have the flooring, the blinds, and that's it.
And then after those items, it then goes into your upgrades and your amendments that you've done and made changes to the plan with the consultant.
Correct.
So these itemized items, they can be as detailed or as basic depending on the consultant, because normally it's the consultant that makes the changes and creates like an itemized list of the changes.
Yes and no. So depends on the level of experience, right? So a lot of, like for example with Levita and a lot of builder brokers, the way it normally works is they actually get a concept of a plan, a couple of the changes, it gets sent to the builder, they do a cost and a sketch, and then that gets presented to the client. Mm-hmm. We are a little bit different with our builders, with how we've negotiated and how we work very closely with them. I do it all myself because I've got quite a lot of experience in the background. It speeds up the time frame. That's why we can sit down with a client and have something sketched and costed within a few hours and it's done.
Yeah, I forget that you
do a shitload.
Do a shitload more than what a normal or
like a normal bloke
consultant can do.
Joe bloke can do. Yeah,
because I've for years I've watched Nick sit down with a client. They said, "Oh, I'd like to relocate this door." Nick's like, whoosh, whoosh, "Done."
Yeah, and here's a cost for it.
Here's the price. I guess I forget that not all consultants know how to do that.
Yeah,
but regardless of which way it goes, whether it's via the consultant or via the builder, there's either itemized or in one big lump sum with the cost at the end, but it will say something along the lines of relocate FR recess to WIP as per sketch.
Yeah, that's just an example. So we're just using an example here. Yep.
Which is relocate the fridge recess to walk-in pantry as per sketch. And that as per sketch is what's sketched up on the floor plan.
So this is an example of a client that we've done. Mm-hmm. So she wanted to move her fridge, which was currently in the standard kitchen. There was a massive walk-in pantry. She's going, I need a bit more room in the kitchen, so I want to move my fridge into the pantry area. and then I want to extend that bench work into the kitchen. The first thing I do is I move the location first. So I've removed some of the shelving out of the pantry, moved the fridge into that area because we need to also add a bit of a nib wall to separate the two because otherwise it's just overhanging some loose shelves. So we put that as the first change. So that's where I wrote in there because the builder may do it in a lot more detailed note, how they're going to change it. However, this is how I understand it, which the builder understands how I write things. And it's very simple for the client to understand too because I'm a very simple person. I can't be fucking detailed with shit. So relocate the fridge. So FR, fridge, recess into WIP, which is walk-in pantry, which is located on the plan. And then
it says provide a nib wall.
Provide the nib wall, yes.
Extend kitchen bench with cabinetry to original FR recess as per sketch.
Correct. So because what the builder will do is grab the original plan and then they go against what I've done. And for that item, then they'll see that, oh shit, okay, we've added the extra bench, which is what we've noted, with the extra cabinetry. Because if I just write extend bench top, they're going to do just bench top.
Yep.
So I have to make sure I write in there bench top with cabinetry, so then it matches the rest of the kitchen.
Yep. And then to the right of that, for that specific item, is the amount that is normally going to be charged for that.
Correct.
A rough estimate.
Yeah. Well, it's costed. So basically, how the cost will have been associated with that is I've deleted what the items I deleted in the shelving in the pantry. That's a credit. And then I've priced the new item, which was basically just the extra bench top and the cabinetry from the builder standard range. I measured it out, priced it, and then took away the credit that we had. And that final price that she has next to that item is the extra over costs for it.
Another example is, in quotation marks, delete air conditioning to home, full stop, client to install post handover.
Yep.
And next to that is a credit.
Yes.
So the client has chosen a package that, this is also from a different client, but this client has opted to go for a package that has aircon included.
Yep.
However, they didn't want the aircon units that we provided.
Yep.
So they've decided to delete the air conditioning. And because they've deleted an item that was already priced into the base price of the home, because it's base price and spec, they now receive a credit, and there is a credit amount associated with that.
Yeah, because the base price had that already included. So for this client, she actually has some contacts that can do it a bit cheaper, as well as it was really tight on the budget. So they said, we're happy to not have the aircon because many of the other builders they spoke to were removing it anyways. So we just itemized that item, looked at the size of the kilowatt that was included in that build, and credited that unit according to what it is.
And then there are items that I don't have an example, but Nick said he's got an example in his head. That
all the examples
that have no charge or note.
Yep, cool. Yeah. So a nice easy one is when you're moving walls around. So let's use a theater because that's normally a really easy one to do. Let's say that currently the opening for the theater was in the very top of that room, right? And the client wanted it in the middle. So what I will do is basically go, I'll write in the quote, going relocate entry of theater and amend brickwork to suit as per sketch. So what I will have done is then grabbed, literally copy paste, highlighted the opening, relocated into the correct position where the client was happy, make sure that's the exact same size, move that same brickwork that was originally there into the new location, made sure that all the measurements are exactly the same, and then I can put next to it, note or no charge. Note basically means it's been noted.
Yep.
So it basically means there's no charge because with our builders, what we've negotiated is that doing changes to your home when you're not adding extra materials, it will be done at no charge. If we had to add a little bit of extra brickwork, you get charged for that difference. So that's how we work. So it's nice and fair both for the builder as well as the client.
Yep. And that's like moving the exact same doorway just to a slightly different location.
Correct.
If a client was choosing for a bigger doorway, then those comes with charges because you're now deleting brickwork and adding different doors.
Yes and no. So that one didn't have doors in there, right? So if I'm making the opening bigger, that means I'm removing brickwork, they'll get a credit back for that.
Okay.
But if the client decided, I've got the space, but I want to add doors, you get charged for the doors.
Yep.
So that's where that really comes into play.
Yeah, I mean,
like in the laundry, that's quite a common one. Sometimes laundries get left open on base plans. I'll always charge for a door, like a flush, let's call it a flush panel door. So it's just a standard door rather than sliding. And it's a fixed price for that. And that gets added into that area to close off, for noise and stuff like that.
Yep. And it's simple addition, subtraction. If you're adding something, you're going to get charged for it. If you're subtracting from the base, you're going to get credited back.
Sometimes it can get a bit more complicated. Like we get quite a few clients that have, like there was one actually, she had a theatre and then she actually deleted all the brickwork out of it, because then it was flowing into the living area. So then we had it open to the theatre. But then I told her, I said, that's all cool. I can credit you the brickwork. However, you now have carpet, which is standard in that theatre. But now you've got you've got proper flooring in the living area. So it's going to look fucking weird with no brickwork, this random plop of carpet in the middle of the house. So I said, what we're going to need to do is now change that to, upgrade that flooring to the main floors. So then I'll note it down and go delete the brickwork in the theatre as per sketch, delete carpet in the theatre room, provide main flooring from the builder standard range, which is what's included in her specification, into that theatre, and then, as per sketch, and then put the pricing. And then the pricing, we get the credit back for the carpet, we get credit back for the brickwork, we price the new flooring because it's at the full rate.
Per square meter.
Square meter. So I've charged that. And then I take away the credits, and that final figure is what's left over that she needs to pay.
Subtract whatever she's got in credit from that price, and then that pops out a figure.
And that's how it does. Rather than me having 3 different items, one is a negative, and then the positive, we do it all as one. However, we note each change as they go. That's the transparency that we have with our builder. Many other builders would just go, provide this.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a guessing game.
Yeah, like we said, it does change from builder to builder, consultant to consultant.
Yes.
But most of the time, what you guys are looking out for in this section is to make sure whatever you have conveyed to your consultant
is written
down. Because 100%. And we got caught out with this on our house, on the first house that we built, if it's not written and it's a gentleman's agreement, you can always go back on it. The consultant can say, I don't remember that. No, they never said that to me. I don't recall. So make sure whatever amendments, whatever changes, whatever you want added into this home is written down in this quote.
Yes.
Because this is the time to make the changes.
Yes. I agree.
Yes. And then normally at the end of that, at the very bottom of all the changes, there can be no changes. There can be 50,000, depending how much you've amended.
Please don't do 50,000.
Please no. But, depending on how many changes you've made to that plan, at the very bottom, there should be a total figure for all those changes and amendments.
Yeah, it will be like a subtotal of everything, and it just gets pre-calculated. It will have the base price, all the changes you've done, and then that is the subtotal for that home with all changes included.
Yes.
So it'll have sometimes it's actually a bit different. Sometimes I'll have variations and the cost for that, and then the subtotal, which will be base price and variations, and then what that total is.
Yeah. So
it changes with each one, but as long as what we're looking for here is we don't give a fuck what you agree on. If it's not written down, it ain't happening.
Correct.
No matter how great that person is, how great their reputation is, I can assure you, because it happens. It may not even be the consultant's fault. It may not be your fault. It may not even be the builder's fault. The builder can only work on what they get given. So if that's not clear, cut and clear, black and grey, you're opening yourself into some discussions and arguments about what was agreed upon and what's actually being presented, maybe 2 very different things. So if it's not written, signed off and agreed, it ain't happening. You have to keep everything in paper form and written down.
Vamp for 30 seconds. We actually have a topic, I think, written down.
I'm vamping.
Which was build lingo. We've been holding off on this episode because it's not long enough
As in terminology?
Yeah. Just a few things that are written on quotes that aren't in full things.
Yeah. So a really good one.
I'm going to call them out.
Fine. You call them and I'll explain them.
Okay. So the most common ones you'll come across, WC.
Waste closet.
Which is? Toilets.
I might actually be completely wrong with if it's called a waste closet or whatever, but water closet.
Water closet.
Waste closet. It's where your waste go. If you don't know what waste is, that's your poo. Basically, it's just a toilet.
Thanks, friend.
I just need to make sure that everyone knows.
WIL.
Walk-in linen. So that is like in a laundry section or something like that. So a walk-in linen is an area where you can actually walk into it. So it's more of like a square area or rectangular with some cupboards or like 4x shelving.
WIP.
Walk-in pantry. Same thing. Normally located in the kitchen or just off the kitchen. That is where your pantry will be. Rather than it being just a double door, it's a walk-in. So it's a bit more bigger space. WIR. Walk-in robe. So same thing, either a built-in robe. If it's not a built-in robe, it's a walk-in robe with a shelf and rail. R-hood. So that's your range hood. So that's in your kitchen. So that will be the top section, obviously, where the fan is that extracts it. So extraction fan, that's your range hood. MWREC. So that's your microwave recess. So that will be, again, depending where it is, located in your kitchen. Normally it's like a little box nominated with that MW. GPO. So general power outlet. So that's just a PowerPoint. Sometimes they call them PowerPoints. There's many different ways of naming it, but that's what that stands for. In lieu of? In lieu of. So I don't know where the fuck they came up with that. Basically, it's like instead of. So for example, like I mentioned before, we've gone, you chose to upgrade your floors to, to floorboards rather than carpet. So you'd go provide floorboards from builder standard range in lieu of carpets as per sketch or whatever it is. So that in lieu of means that you're replacing it instead of. Yep. Gas HP. Say it one more time. Gas HP. So gas hot plate. So that is your main hot plate. And normally, I think they should, right? If not, they should nominate the size of it as well. Gable. Oh, fuck. That's on an elevation. Next one. That's on the elevation. It's like a timber cladding type of thingy. You'll notice it when you see it. Okay. Don't ask me too much about that one. But it's on your elevation. It's normally like in front of you, like where your roof is. It's normally like a triangular shape. FRREC. So fridge recess. Yep. FFL. So that's where your fridge goes. FFL. Final floor level. So that's normally nominated after your survey has been done. So that will be the final like building level. So the drafters will normally nominate what that final floor level is that they'll be putting the pad onto. Because you'll see there will be very, very slight changes in the actual the gradient of the ground. It may, let's say it's like 114.2, but then the front of the home might be 114.1 or something like that. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But basically, it's the final level that they're going to nominate. DWREC. So that's dishwasher recess. So that's normally nominated underneath your bench top. And normally, as standard, right, it will be right next to where your sink will be, which is normally on your island bench or corner bench. And last one is DHO. All right, so that'll be your door height opening. So that'll actually explain the heights of that. Okay. B lintel, brick lintel. Yes. So that one you tend to see in your hallway, especially if you've chosen a specification of a builder where it has like 31 court ceilings in the living area and then it goes back down to standard. They need a difference in that height for the roof frame structure for all that shit to work. So what you'll normally see is it may say 25C, B like, was it comma? No, apostrophe, lintel, which means that it's got a 25 brick course height, brick lintel. So it's there to help assist with the difference in the height levels from when you go from standard to when it raises up. So those, as a little summary for you guys, is kind of like the keywords. If you don't know what any of them mean. A highlight window. What's a highlight window? Yeah, but I mean, that? Yes, but like on the quotes, you would have a highlight window. Yeah, highlight window. So a highlight window are the long skinny windows that you normally see at the top of a room, like in a theater. So you still have a window, but it's not a full size window. So those highlight windows is basically what that is. A low light window is the same thing, but at the bottom of the floor. We haven't done one of those in ages. Oh, I know. Well, they're a lot more expensive because then you have to support it. Yep. So that's a little bit of a breakdown for you guys. If you don't know what a couple of words or like letters mean in the quote, just like a little quick breakdown of what that means.
The next page or pages of the quote is normally a breakdown of your site works.
Yep.
And in the site works, it's quite an itemized list of what's included and what's not included.
Not really. Depends on the builder.
Okay, maybe.
It is because I've seen. Don't you maybe me? It is because I've seen like some clients go and shop around. They're like, hey, this one's fucking 20 grand cheaper than us. I'm like, okay, well, let's try and, compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges. And I look at it, I'm like, bro, like it literally says site works, provisional sum, 18,000.
And nothing else.
And then underneath the text will go may or may not include and just has a couple words attached to it. I'm just like, the fuck? The fuck? So
excuse me, sir.
The fuck? So what you end up happening is with a provisional sum on a site works, literally that's how they get away with so much shit. They can just throw any figure that they want. Some experienced consultants will, allow the correct amount, but many others may not. One, inexperience in that area, or simply just to get you into a cheaper budget. And then what will happen is, because it's provisional, until you get the surveys, the reports, and all these things to finalize those quotes, they are provisional. They may go up, they may go down. You never know until later down the track, and you might get a hidden surprise.
Okay, well, in the quotes that we provide with Levita.
Yeah, so the ones that we do, they're fixed, right? So because our builders, both of our builders, will go into areas where they know the area very well, where they're comfortable to build in, and they've done past jobs, so they know what they're dealing with. So in doing so, they fix the site works, and the site works is only fixed based on the footing of the soil. So based on the soil, right? It's based on the footing. So the biggest one, we've done that whole fucking episode about site works and, footings and shit. So an A-class soil, which many developers like to sell on, there are 3 different footings associated with that. You have what's called a D10, an A footing, and a B1/SJA footing. So what that means is all of these fall under the A-class soil. However, there is a price difference of about $6,500 between the very first one, the cheapest one, versus the bit more complicated one. And the main difference between them is literally just the soil itself. All the other contingencies like your council allowances, your soak wells, your fucking, what else? Your soak wells, your council, your crossover, that's already taken care of, right? With our fixed ones.
Yep.
The only thing that's going to change is what footing we need to allow for, how much more reinforcement your house slab will need based on the soil. And with an A-class soil, it can be pure sand, right? Which is perfect. That's your D10. The next one is an A footing, which means that it's got a bit more mixture, sometimes some limestone refusal. So you see this a lot of the times in areas more close to the coastal areas. So even though it's sand, may have some limestone in it. And then the next one, which is B1/SJA, that is basically coming to, you've got sand, but then you've got like a little bit of a mixture of like some harder soil types, a little bit more reactive than pure sand, but it's not clay. So that one there, that like we do that in Bullsbrook a lot, and in Byford and Whitby, there's a lot of those areas where you're on the bordering edge of like the hills. You're not like right in the clay area. This is for WA. But it depends, you can get some areas. It just depends how much developers have developed that land. In that area, there may be clay, but because they dig so much out and put clean fill into it, it actually makes the soil a bit better. So those are the things that obviously can change that cost substantially when you're doing a fixed quote. But just remember, all the builders are the same. So no matter if it's with Levita, who we use, or ProGen, or you go to some of the big builders, any fixed site works, when you read every single word in that T's and C's, it is based on the footings of the results of that soil, not on anything else.
So
sorry for the long run, but
that's okay.
Yeah.
So in the quotes that we do, we itemize things. And for example, I'm looking at another client's quote at the moment on my phone. No, I'm not, because I just clicked on a message by accident. Fuck my life.
Yes, you did. Go on.
It says, item number 13, fixed site works based on SJ10 footing detail. And then to the right, there is the amount that will cost.
Correct.
For that type of soil.
So we've looked in that area. We've seen that. So that client, I know exactly the one you did. the footing in that area actually fluctuates quite a bit. We've seen the worst being an SJ10, some being SJ5, and some being a little bit better. So I say with the client, we're going worst case. Mm-hmm. Always go your worst case, because when those results come back after, we fix it based on the results. So if the results come back better, they actually get a credit back that they can use that pre-sale or, to drop the home loan. But at least they know upfront with us what their worst case will be, so that we're not having those conversations later down the track.
Yep. Then there's a whole bunch of items that it says either by the builder, by the owner, no allowance, or allowance required.
Okay.
So, for example, what is included and done by the builder, something like crossover is included in the fixed price thing. Yep. Or a concrete pump is included.
Yep.
And then there are items that are
like your earthworks and all that stuff. That's all taken into account and included and it says by builder.
Yes, it says by builder.
Correct.
Then there are items that says done by owner, which is you, the client. And
so that's where you're responsible for having those items done or included. So sometimes by owner, to help save you some money that, the builder can let you do. It depends on the complexity of the job and the flexibility of that builder. But things like a temporary fencing. So what happens is sometimes if you're building near a school zone or building near like shops and stuff like that, there may be some council requirements where you may need to have temporary fencing around your home. It may not be needed everywhere, but sometimes it can be done. So rather than the builder charging and not knowing if it may or may not be applicable, they might write in there by owner. And what that means is if it is required, we'll let you know. You need to sort it out. But if you want the builder to do it, there will be an additional charge.
And next to all of these items, it either says included or the price or note.
Yep.
Then there are items that it says there is no allowance.
Yes.
So based on the block that you're building on, there might be no allowance for scaffolding because you don't need it, or no hard digging required because you're in an area that doesn't require hard digging.
Yeah, so hard digging, that's a really good one because it can fluctuate. It can be on some really good soil and it can be on really bad soil that you can need it. Basically, what it just means is like, can the boys with a shovel do it easily, or do we need to get a hard digger out to try and get the job done? So anywhere where you're experiencing any of the sandy soil that has some limestone refusals, so especially out on coastal blocks, normally we allow for it immediately, $1,500, $2,500, depending on how much work may need to be done. If you're going into any of the areas with clay, that's just an instant, it's added into your quote. Because fucking good luck trying to dig shit with a shovel. You can, but you're going to be spending 3 times the amount of time. And for builders, it's about getting in, getting out as quickly as possible and getting the job done. So it would just be an automatic. You can fire it. It's going to happen.
And then I've got a BAL assessment is required. So for this client, it said BAL assessment required. And then underneath that, it's because that BAL assessment is required because they're in a bushfire attack level area zoning.
Yes.
It then has a BAL assessment, and we've put BAL assessment 12.5.
Correct.
And the price associated with that bushfire level pricing.
Yep. And the upgrades required. So we do a fixed rating for a bushfire rating of 12.5 or 19. After that, it becomes provisional because it's a lot more complicated to get it correct. And you can't just fix it because fixing costs for a builder across the board can be risky sometimes. So for them, they want to make sure that whatever they can do is going to be down packed and, still buys to the builder at the end of the day that, for some they may lose, but for some they'll win. So it evens themselves out. So that's something that they do. Same as like coastal, you won't see them really fix the pricing on coastal if it's like 100 meters away from the beach. Mm-hmm. But if it's 400 to a kilometer away, which is, up the maximum is 1 kilometer away. So between 400 to a kilometer, normally they'll put an allowance and go, based on the size of this home, this is what we're happy to fix the price in, which some of our builders do. And same with the noise. If it's a very basic A level where it's very generic, they're happy they've done the works before and they're happy to do a fixed pricing based on the size of the home. If it gets a little bit more complicated than that, then it needs to be individually costed. So sometimes that's where you'll see no allowance as per land documents or whatever documents we've been provided by the client or what we found with the developer. All that information comes into this area to make sure that we get that pricing correct.
Yep. And normally at the bottom of this kind of SiteWorks page or pages, there you'll have all your pricing on one side, and then right at the bottom it will have a total tally for your SiteWorks amount.
Correct.
So if we look at the quote now, and we've broken it down into 3 separate parts almost.
Yep.
You have the base price of the home with whatever specification you've chosen to attach to that home, and there's the price.
Yes.
Then you have all of your amendments, if any, your variations that you've not amendments or house options, whatever you want to call it, I suppose.
Depends how the builder
the changes that you've made.
Yes. Yep.
The changes that you've made, the price of those items.
Yes.
With a
total
lump
for
sum
that. Yep.
price for that, and then you've got your SiteWorks page with what's included, what's not included, and the price at the bottom of that for that amount.
Correct.
So then you've got 3 different prices, and on the very last page, you should have all 3 of those items.
It's like a house together subtotal or house total, and that will be everything added all together, and that is your final price for what that home is based on what's been itemized in that quote.
So when you're looking over the quote and kind of going, oh yeah, this looks great, what you're looking for is to make sure in the amendment section that everything that you spoke about with your consultant is noted down, written down, and it makes sense to you.
Yep.
If something doesn't make sense to you,
don't sign and ask the question first.
Ask the question first, and maybe on the quote have it written down what that means.
And initial and signed by the consultant or management.
Yep. Then on the SiteWorks section, again, depending on the builder and how transparent they are and what they explain, see what is included based on what footing, and like you can do your own research, but you're kind of putting the trust into the consultant. But what is included and what is expected, like, or not included, if that makes sense.
Yep. And has it been taken into account for your block and your job if it's needed?
Yep.
Like, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, just making sure that you understand what has been put into this quote and what hasn't been put into this quote. And if something's missed, you need to change it, reprint it. Don't sign it yet until you're happy with it.
I think another one that actually we haven't discussed and that is being put into quotes that people need to understand is fixed pricing for a home.
Yes. So let's explain that a little bit. It might not be directly in the quote part.
It is.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize we'll put. Sorry, I just kicked you under the table.
Stop fucking kicking me.
Sorry. So I thought that was a separate document.
No.
Okay.
So depends on the builder. If you're discussing with the builder and they are offering you a fixed pricing on the home, or they, whether that's because a lot of the land at the moment is untitled, have they taken that into consideration with costings? How are they allowing that fixed pricing and that term, like the fixed price and the time frame terms for that? So if that builder has it as a separate document, read it from top to bottom to top. Like, you need to understand that thing like the back of your fucking hand.
Going backwards.
You need to understand that thing. I cannot fathom this enough. You need to be able to understand that like the back of your hand to know what you're in for and how they are structuring it. It's always going to be biased in the builder. No matter who it is, the vendor or whoever, they're not going to provide anything that's going to be fixed unless they know they're going to be covered. So you need to make sure that you read that thoroughly. So what we're talking about is, when does that time frame begin? What does that entail? How does the time frame exist? Is it based on you need to have a specific allowance for the title to be completed at a certain time frame? What happens if it blows out? Because it does happen. Let's say that they fix your tiles are coming out in March, and that they fix your tiles based on March. What happens if it goes to May? Does your fixed price become null and void? What are those exclusion zones that you need to be aware of to make sure that you cover your ass as well as and as thoroughly as possible?
Yep.
So if they are throwing price guarantees, timeframe guarantees, cool, not a problem. I like what you have to offer. Write it down.
Yep.
Put it into my fucking quote. They can remove it if they have to, technically, like at contracts, if they have to or whatever. But you need that in writing and agreed upon with management and yourself. So then you've got something on for yourself that you can go back to that builder and go, hold the fuck on. Here's what you guys offered. You're not fulfilling your promise. Give me my fucking compensation.
Yep.
So make sure you've got that in your quote.
I hope this makes a little bit more sense. In the future, we might do a couple more explanations on maybe how to understand your
agreement
contract.
Yeah.
Even if it's just looking at your floor plans and what that entails and what's on
your
there.
working drawings.
Yeah, your working drawings.
Yep.
And we also have discussed about talking about your variations and stuff like that, how to understand those and why they're about, and giving it a bit more of a highlight on why they're about, how to understand them, because we've mentioned them quite a lot.
Yeah, and how that actually gets structured. Like, does that get added into my finance? Do I need to pay for that separately? How does it all come into play? 100%. Yeah, we can definitely go into a bit more detail as an episode. It might be a short one, but I think it'll be good so then people can look at it and go, how do I understand the quote? Click on this episode.
That's what I want.
How do I understand agreements and, contract agreements with a builder when I start up? Boom. Yep. How do I understand variations after I sign up? Boom.
Yep. So keep an eye out for those. They're in the process of being written by us. But I hope this episode made sense of what a quote entails, what should be written in the quote. And if you're signing up with a builder that doesn't have this as detailed as what kind of we've read it out to be,
this should be the norm. There are many builders that do this. Someone that isn't doing that, what are they trying to hide? Why can they not be transparent? Because if they spend the time to structure their quotes and their home and the things up front, then they're going to be that they're taking that time as well into your entire journey.
Yeah.
If they're just slapping something together, going, "Yeah, this is the price. That's what it is," doesn't seem really, really great. Like,
might be worth asking some questions.
Yeah, definitely.
Not to say that they're a bad builder though.
But you know what? I'm the best, so just come to us.
But it just might be worth asking those questions. Just raise it. It would be raising a concern for us if we were a client. So I would be asking questions. So just putting that knowledge out there for you guys to also be asking those questions.
100%. Because, if we were you in your shoes, that's what we would be doing.
Yeah.
And that's one is obviously from our own experience, but many things that we didn't do when we first built.
And we didn't understand.
Man, we fucking signed up. We didn't even know what plan we were getting and what price it was.
Or what we were signing, really.
100%.
So
100%.
I think there's a lot of young buyers out there who look at a quote, get overwhelmed and just sign and just hope for the best that
some of them get pressured too. Like there's a lot of, like we had one of our most recent clients, Jess and Dylan, and even she was saying she went to a couple places and they're just like, "Yep, cool, sign, otherwise just fuck off." And she's like, "Bro, like chill.
Hold on. Yeah.
Chill.
Buy me dinner first."
Yeah, fuck.
So just make sure you're reading those quotes. Make sure you're understanding your quotes before you put your signatures on them.
100%.
Let's plug.
Plug.
You can find, I don't even know where I've got plug from.
I don't know. It's a thing now.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
Plug. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, website, Google, YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. If you could leave a follow, a subscribe, a review, or a rating, that would be really helpful. It really helps us in the back end of getting this podcast out to more listeners.
Yes. Share this around. So share our stuff around. Like help us out wherever you can to get the reach out there. We are hearing that it's definitely helping a lot of people, even who aren't building with us, which is amazing to hear. And I love seeing and hearing that feedback. Please keep sending it through if it is being helpful to you guys, but also share it out. Like, it's free info and many people are starting to see that there is quite a bit of value to this. I don't know how to get it that big out. Like, we're not some fucking massive multimedia agency that knows everything. We're just winging it, man. We're just a husband and wife team just trying to do some good in a really fucked up industry that takes advantage of a lot of people, and just
trying to get the info out there.
Trying to get the info out there so that you guys don't have a shit experience like what we did in our first time, and learn from our mistakes and many other people's mistakes so that you don't have to go through it.
Yeah, trying to be as transparent and as honest as we physically and legally can.
Yeah, and mentally, morally. For me.
And just remember, guys.
We're not here
to fuck spiders.
Fuck oath.
Fuck oath.
That was, stop fucking copying me.
Stop copying me.
Yeah, we'll cut that bit.